Hi everyone, my name is Tiffany. Welcome back, or welcome if you've never been here before, and welcome to my third weekly wrap up for the month of February. Just as a little refresher, just in case you are new here, I like to structure my wrap-ups in clips and come to you when I'm fresh off the page. So in this first one, I have two reads for you, and we're starting with Lost in the Moment and Found by Seanan and McGuire. This is the latest in the Wayward Children series, and these are dark portal fantasies. A trend among them is giving us a snapshot of each main character's lives prior to their portal or door opening. And they're always hard-hitting. They're always themed with a social commentary. They feel like meditations on our time here through the lens of a child. And the reason for Ancy, short for Antoinette, the reason for why her door opens completely broke me in this book. I was a little messed up. Okay, there is a trigger warning for grief, loss, grooming, and gaslighting at the beginning of this book. And it opens with Ancy witnessing the death of her father, which, starts this chain reaction of events that she has no control over. And when her mother remarries a man that aims to groom and harm her, it was just freaking heartbreaking to read. It was so exemplar of the fact that as children, we are just utterly powerless. And the changes in Ancy's life are very swift and very severe. And I have never wanted a door to open more than I did in this book. I was cheering when her freaking door opened, okay? I was cheering for it. And I will say, as a reminder, that these are dark portal fantasies. And so there always is that sort of sinister edge to their door, and in this book it is no different. It always sort of moves me when we get to the cost. There are great sacrifices made throughout the course of the series, and there's such a great cost and her receiving refuge through this door. It's also a very different door than all of the others, being that it opens to many. And I ended up rating this 5 stars. The twist in this, or the big reveal, was very sobering. Okay? And I absolutely loved it. This was a very hard-hitting book. And oh my God, it moved me. It was difficult to read at moments. And I just think that she did a beautiful job with it. I then read Maniac by Onley James, which is a highly anticipated read for me, okay? I have been waiting for this book really since book 3, because this romance has been heavily hinted at throughout this series since that point. And if you don't know, Onley James's Necessary Evil series is centered around the Mulvaneys, which is a family of vigilante psychopath serial killers. And Thomas Mulvaney has adopted each son in order to intervene when they are young, raise them in a loving environment, and train them to use their natural urges as psychopaths for the greater good. They step in and take the reins when the criminal justice system fails. And so I have loved this series. And there's always a case, okay, to be solved in each and every book that brings everyone together. It also brings in our love interests of each brother into the family and the fold. And in this book, the case is linked to Thomas's backstory. And I did enjoy that tie-in. He's harboring a lot of secrets, and the reveals on those could be detrimental to his legacy and the family as a whole. And what makes this book special is that Aiden is already a part of the family. He's been within the fold. Aiden was adopted as a teen, which is also different from his brothers because he was much older. And as I've said, their romance has been alluded to since book 3. So I have been waiting for this freaking book. And I'm going to be honest and say that I don't feel like I'm coming out of this book with more information on their romance than I had prior to picking it up. I ultimately rated this 3 stars. I felt like it was expositional and referential, and a reference really only has power when you're fully privy to the source material. Like, as if, okay, only means something to you if you've seen the movie Clueless, starring Alicia Silverstone, okay, and Stacey Dash, actually written by Tina Fey. I love that. But, I mean, as if only means a little bit more than nothing to somebody that knows that it's referencing Clueless, yet still, if they haven't seen it, there's no real personal connection to it. And that's how I felt reading this book. It felt like I was jumping into the second book of a duet, or even the third act of a book without having gone through the journey with them. And, I hate to say that, but I have to be honest. I think that the romance in this book is the weakest of all of them. You know, I have my favorite couples and I love some books more than others, but I can tell you how each and every single couple fell in love. And I cannot say the same for Thomas and Aiden. I think that this book would have greatly benefited from flashbacks, which I think is the strongest element throughout this series. In every single prologue, we learn how Thomas found each son, what state they were in, and why they were adopted. And we do get that with Aiden. Again, he was a teenager, and I love to see their meet cute, okay, which is interesting to say, and also how he found him. But I think that a lot of what's been hinted at throughout the series continued to be hinted at or referenced as if we had felt it. And like, I think 3 major flashbacks would have really improved this romance. One of the rejection. It is rumored that Aiden let his feelings be known and Thomas rejected him. That is, you know, trickled on throughout the series through dialogue of the other brothers. You know, the tension between them is felt and it is seen. And so in this book, it would have been nice to actually see that rejection. It would have been nice to see the actual scene of when Thomas started to see Aiden as a man, because it's mentioned in a line. I think a chapter would have been nice. And it also would have been nice to have a chapter that was exemplar of just the pattern between them over the course of the last 10 years. One scene that really showcased why Aiden is so angry, he's so resentful, and he's just weary of rejection, and why Thomas is just at a loss when it comes to Aiden. Because, like I said, it had like a third act feel. They are forced into proximity into this book, which is one of my favorite tropes. And I would have liked to have experienced everything, or at least a part of their journey up until that point. And I didn't feel that. I really wanted it. And I did enjoy parts of the book. So that's why I'm rating it 3 stars, because I'm thoroughly invested in this series and the characters. So because of this case, everyone's brought together. I loved the familial banter, dysfunction, and how intrusive they all are when it comes to each other. I loved getting all of the updates on everyone. And so those points were fun. And I did actually like the case. It's just the romance. I cannot tell you, unlike all of the other books, how they fell in love. I don't know that. And so I have to be honest and say I was really disappointed in that. I don't know how Aiden and Thomas fell in love. It is referenced to, it is spoken about, but I didn't get to experience it with them and I didn't get to see it. And so I would have really loved to be connected to that. And so I was disappointed. But I am looking forward to her spin-off series. Okay, Jericho's Boys. Jericho is in book 3. Okay. So that should be a lot of fun. And I'm loving this sort of like sapphic element, that's all I'm gonna say, that's being brought into it. I hope we get to see that in Jericho's Boys, and I'm looking forward to that. I think that comes out in April, so I am hoping to pick that up and be invested in a new series by her. And you know, I wanted more from it. I don't think it's a case of my expectations being too high. It just wasn't on the page. And I think a couple of tweaks would have been nice. But, you know, I'm still here for Onley James. I still love the series as a whole. I just wish that this ending in terms of their romance that has been hinted at for so long really hit for me, and it just didn't. And I hope it worked for you if you were highly anticipating it. So I will be back when I have more thoughts and when I've read more. I'm back with a stack, starting with Hail Mary by Kandi Steiner. I did skip ahead. Okay, I skipped Quarterback Sneak to get to this because the heroine Mary was intriguing me. I heard Caitlin from the Love Librarian talking about it, and I was hooked, honey. So I had to start it, and I loved how this began because Leo is, of course, a very popular football player, and Mary was giving me Kat from Euphoria vibes, being that she isn't popular, she's not a conventional beauty, she's plus size, yet in her domain as a gamer, she is well known and well respected. And I love the whirlwind summer that they have where they meet through gaming, and it's also a way for her to keep her identity concealed until she decides to collide both worlds and let her identity be known, which leads to a crushing moment of rejection where we pick up 7 years later and learn how that moment was very pivotal in terms of her growth, okay, in terms of her glow up, and they become roommates. What I loved about Mary is that she's not a college student. She's actually an apprentice at a local tattoo shop, and that Leo does not know why she's never really liked him, why she's always been so prickly. I love a forced proximity element because it's just so versatile, and the fact that they're living together, it just made way for all of the sexual tension and intrigue between them. And I liked how Leo was just hell-bent on caring for her, helping her. Okay, how she's grown into herself as a character, as a woman, into her curves, okay, and is trying to forge her own path. I loved the found family aspects within this book because the team really takes her in as one of their own, the female friendships that she builds because of this freaking move, and also just the sort of like tenuous tit for tat between them in terms of the banter and all of the history that really makes it feel weighted, because Leo has always been gone for her, okay? He's always wondered what happened to the girl that just disappeared that summer. And he also knows that he can't come at Mary with his persona that he's been perpetuating as a player on and off of the field. The one thing I did want a little bit more from was the reveal on her identity. I wish that would have played out differently, but as a heroine and everything that she kind of garners in this book, I absolutely loved, okay? And I loved how gone he was for her. It did feel like they were just coming up for air with the steam. So I rated this 4 stars. I absolutely loved it. And then after which I finally finished Fairydale by Veronica Lancet. Okay. Oh, this book was a commitment. And let me tell you, it delivered on my freaking investment into it. It has gothic vibes. It's dark with paranormal elements. It's also a historical. We're picking up with Darcy in the 1950s. She's a biology teacher, and she just got word that her father, who she does not have a relationship with, has left her an inheritance. And it has led her to a town called Fairydale that shouldn't exist. I mean, maps, okay? And the train station don't know her. I love a freaking town that shouldn't exist. And when she arrives, oh, just the eerie atmospheric vibe. She's trying to figure out how she even came to be, why she was left this money, and also parse through all of the very contentious relationships between the people that are vying for what she's been left. She is positioned as an unreliable narrator, supposedly having hallucinations. There are strange happenings going on, and that's where I believe the commitment lies, because this is a sick Girl, okay, this is a long book. It took me about it was like 10 hours. You know how like Kindle lets you know, sort of reads you for filth and tells you how long it's going to take you to finish something. It's learned my reading speed. It took me that long, and I didn't do it all in one sitting. And the investment lies in the time where neither Darcy or I as a reader knew what was going on. And I was just hoping that this new to me author was going to use all of the elements that were being presented to actually serve the story and not just tick off boxes of gothic Ihli vibes. It absolutely did. This delivered. This is incredibly romantic. Angela Bassett. I'm sorry, she's a channel icon for me. Let me just get it together here. This is an epic tale of devotion. It's incredibly romantic. Every element that is placed before you is tied together like a French freaking braid. And because it is filled with spoilers, I'll just say the meditation within it, because that's what I call them, the messages within books, things that make me pause and really think. This sort of message of what fear robs us of as individuals and really collectively in terms of humanity was just so sound and sobering, as well as the ills of freaking intolerance, what it cost them, The author does have a very cheeky synopsis. This could be seen as a love triangle type situation, but this was an epic and sweeping romance that she could have broken up into 3 books. And I'm so happy that she didn't, because it is one intact story that I absolutely loved. I rated this 5 stars. Okay, I rated it 5 stars. I mean, it just has a grip, and I have got to thank Cynthia from Kindle After Dark for sending it to me. Thank you so much. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. After that, okay, I read Evolved by N.R Walker. This is an MM artificial intelligence romance that I saw Rachel from Rachel Reads and Sings reading. Well, she let me know, okay, because Ashton from Ashton Reads, okay, on Bookstagram recommended it during the Novellathon. We had reading sprints. 1 of the 3 hours that we were on. That was a lot of fun. And so I jumped right into it. What I love about AI romances, since I read Tangled Wires by Lillian Lark, I got that from Brief from In Love and Words, is that question of, can non-organic beings actually love? It's actually my favorite in a psychopath romance, getting into the gray matter and trying to parse through if the author can give a strong enough argument as to why. What is it about this heroine or this hero? And in this book, it was no different. It was giving me surrogate vibes, if we want to have a tone or a look in terms of film pairings. But this is set in a futuristic world with technological advancements like robots. We're in the 2060s. And robots are a part of everyday life. They are drivers, they're cleaners, they are carrying out jobs of that nature. And more recently, synthetic humanoid, robots with artificial intelligence are on the rise. And it's recent enough for them to be controversial in terms of companions. And our human hero, Lloyd, who is an intellectual, he's a philosophy professor. He also has OCD and is recently single, has done his research, and he is purchasing a Sean, a synthetic human automated unit. And when the unboxing happens at his home, that's where their romance begins. And what I loved about it is that he doesn't use Sean as some futuristic flesh toy. He wants to date him. And it is this process of them having great communication. Oh my gosh, the conversations that they have and the ones that he feels like he hasn't been able to have with anyone. The way that Sean is a quick study when it comes to caring for Lloyd. The hilarity that comes from Sean's programming and what he actually needs from Lloyd, despite Lloyd wanting it to take it slow. And the fact that there is a great argument for why Sean can love in this book, which takes us down a bit of a romantic suspense plot that I wasn't expecting, but I absolutely loved this. It's 5 stars. I want to run through N.R Walker's backlist because of it. Oh, it was just so heartwarming. Like I said, it's funny, it's sweet, and it's also like giving like 1984 vibes. So I was here for it and I'm obsessed. And I've also noticed, because I read The Weight of It All by N.R Walker. At that point, it wasn't on KU. A lot of N.R Walker's titles are now on Kindle Unlimited. So like I said, I will be running through that backlist. I was so excited. And lastly, I'm going to wrap up for this stack, Run on Red by Noelle W. Before I forget, this is a thriller. It's on KU. It's not a romance. And oh my gosh, it is following two best friends. They're in college. They're on their way to a party in the mountains. And the fact that women cannot do this without being assaulted or harassed just made me want to write a freaking manifesto. So I had to jump out of it at first and wedge in Evolved, but this is full throttle. It's action-packed. Within 10%, they are being hunted. I knew that this was going to be them on the road and being followed. What I wasn't expecting was for it to be non-stop in terms of the pacing. What I loved about it is that our main character, Olivia, she has a true crime podcast or blog, which means that she has a lot of knowledge. And all of that knowledge does is make her privy to how slim her chances are of surviving. And she's such an interesting character to follow, because throughout this book, like I said, within the first 10%, we are on the move, honey. We're not just on this like atmospheric, eerie vibe of a tale. This is a tale of survival. And each moment, Olivia is making these snap decisions with the limited resources that she has in order to survive and get out of this experience with her best friend. The reveals on who is hunting them and why. I mean, it was a mic drop moment. It vindicated my freaking ire in the beginning, because I was like, this is not right. It's not. But I absolutely loved this. I could not put it down once I jumped back into it, and I definitely recommend it if you were looking for a thriller. Again, this is on KU. She has other titles there as well, so I'm going to be jumping into them, and I will be back when I have more books read. I am back with 2 more reads, starting with Morally Corrupt. Veronica Lancet is now on my author roster list after this. Bianca is a sociopath, and she's also an assassin for the Bratva. She's completely obsessed, okay, and gone for her husband Theo, who just so happens to be a police officer, and he's also unaware of the true identity of his sweet, innocent, and doting wife. She has systematically won her husband over and has been living this double life, keeping the fact that she is surgical, okay, she is lethal, and that she's a sociopath. Like, it is crazy. It's bonkers when you see the life that she is leading and what she's been able to hide. Oh my God, I loved it so much. And this is also a marriage in trouble where they are both harboring secrets, and these secrets come out early enough in the story for us to unpack them. And it's also about them being reintroduced to each other while they're going on this mission with high stakes. It's high action. It's got a lot of angst. This is sexy, okay? And the trauma within this book is handled well. And in my opinion, when it's handled well, trauma isn't gratuitously placed. It serves to unpack, okay, Bianca's psychopathy, as well as kind of reveal Theo's backstory and the reasons for everything that he is harboring. But the fact that they are just so well suited for each other without even knowing it at the beginning of this book, how they are just mutually obsessed, and how this is a very fresh and unique mafia romance. I do have to implore you to be aware of the trigger warning for child abuse, assault, and molestation on the page. Those are going to be great bing words for the YouTube algorithm, but I feel like it would be irresponsible for me not to mention them. This book also delivers on my caveat for reading depraved acts like that. I need them to pay. and Bianca is the type of heroine that makes them pay in spades. I absolutely loved it. But this was just so fresh. It was non-stop in terms of pacing. I loved it so much. It's 4.5. I'm absolutely obsessed. It's being added to my serial killer heroine collection. Okay, I'm so excited about it. I can't wait to continue on with the series. And then wrapping up with The Right Move by Liz Tomforde. I'm gonna be completely honest. I skipped to this book. I will be reading Mile High first week of March, okay? But I was told that I could, and I saw Crystal reading this book, and I had to get into it. This is following Ryan. He's an NBA player, newly appointed captain of his team. He has his game and his goals dialed in, but he's missing that personal touch with his teammates and really in his life. He's at the level of success where it's difficult for him to let people in. He doesn't easily trust, and he's a bit robotic, kind of prickly, which is why the GM for his team doesn't think he's well suited for this position. He's a great player, but not so much team builder. And so it is at this point where he's convinced he doesn't need any distractions while he's trying not to get traded. And it is at this point that Indy enters the chat, his younger sister's best friend. She is a flight attendant for the NHL, and she's in need of a place to stay after witnessing her ex-fiance cheating. And it is from there that they are forced into this reluctant proximity as roommates where opposites absolutely attract, and they end up fake dating so that Ryan can warm up to his GM and so that Indy can have the date of a lifetime, okay, for the wedding that her ex-fiance is going to be at, and all of their friends will be attending as well. And what I loved about this book, okay, is that it has moments in it where I'm always sort of looking for in a romance, where I want to believe that a love like this doesn't just simply exist on the page. And despite this being a high profile sports romance, it just felt so cozy and had a warmth to it because they have this day-to-day falling between them where Indy brings so much warmth into Ryan's life. I'm gonna call her a pixie woman. I mean, that is my moniker for all heroines that are the elixir. They soothe everyone else around them. They know how to work a room, okay? They shine bright for everyone else. But because of that, they're not always seen. And so for Ryan to actually pay attention and also covet these very vulnerable and authentic moments where Indy doesn't have it all together and showcase how he cares for her. It was just standout. There are clear actions that he takes that I'm not going to spoil for you, okay? Some are small day-to-day things, and others are like large, just slam dunks in the end, okay, that made me swoon, that completely broke me. The way that he demonstrates how he cares for her. I don't know, despite the fact that this is supposed to be fake, okay? Despite the fact that he's in need of no distractions and that he doesn't trust anyone, it just rocked and moved me. There is this label of quiet love in this book, and I just thought that was so beautiful. It's steady and secure. It isn't showy. It's sometimes deliciously possessive, and I gobbled it up. I absolutely fell for Ryan and Indy. She is headstrong and she is sure of what she wants. And I love how even that, the way in which the things that she wants for her life sort of shift as she falls for him. I just thought this was everything. This is a 5-star romance. I cannot wait to pick up Mile High. I'm just amazed, and I'm really excited for a new to be author. If you don't know, yes, any author that I haven't read before is new, but similar to Veronica Lancet, okay, when I go back for a second time and I love it, that author joins the roster. And so I'm hoping the same happens for Liz Tomforde. Oh, it's a favorite of the month. It might even be for the year. So I'm gonna wrap this video up here. I hope that you can join me for my monthly wrap up. I mean, I'm still a week out, but I hope to wrap up the reads that I've read in the last week of February, give you my stats, share any additions to the library, and give you my favorites. So I hope to see you there as well. Thank you for joining me. Please consider subscribing and sticking around, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.